Hey guys, we're back. We're gonna dive straight into this, but just want to preface saying I am a little under the weather, so if my voice sounds awful, uh, I don't know, blame me, I guess. Yeah, that's it. uh, but I want to dive into today sort of a topic I've been munching on, which is why I love or why I'm really grateful for my anxiety, sort of that feeling of drudgery or fear that's kind of in the back of my mind some days, honestly most days. And I'm really grateful for my undercurrent of anxiety which sort of exists within me, and it feeds me. All right, cuz every single day I wake up with a twinge of worry on my shoulder. Like when you're making a recipe and they're like, "Oh, like add a dash of nutmeg or whatever." It's like when God was making me, he was like, put a dash of what if I'm not good enough, and 1 tablespoon of what if I'm not successful in the future, and a whole fucking cup of what if I'm just complete garbage. But I'm really grateful for these kind of doubts in my mind, and I guess this imposter syndrome, which I think is inextricably linked up with anxiety. And I want to take a step back. Let's define some terms here. Number one, I would say anxiety. It's a very nebulous term that we use in today's culture and today's society, but I would describe it as an overall feeling of worry or fear about the future, okay? I would say it's different from panic cuz panic is very violent. Panic is very loud and vivacious. Anxiety, I think it's like an undercurrent. It's like a calm, maybe that's not the right word, not calm, but it's a undercurrent of just worry or fear or whatever. And imposter syndrome is sort of the feeling that you are not the person that you think you are. So, for example, a lot of artists have imposter syndrome because they create art, but they think, oh, no one likes this. This isn't worthy. This isn't good. They feel like an imposter, a fraud of sorts. You hear a lot of podcasters. One of my favorite podcasters, Chris Williamson, he says he feels this a lot in the sense of he has millions of subscribers and downloads and this and that and a lot of money coming in, all this stuff, but he doesn't feel as if he deserves it, or he doesn't know if it's good enough. He doesn't know if he could truly be good. That sort of idea. And for me, at least, I feel this a lot. I wonder, oh, are the videos I create even somewhat decent at all? Is the writing that I make ever so slightly good? And I worry about these things. And on top of that, I worry, like, will I make money doing the copywriting and marketing and freelancing work I'm doing? Will I ever make money doing this thing or that thing? Will I, find a loving partner one day and all this? Am I worthy of that? And it's a struggle for sure. But I think this anxiety, this like undercurrent of imposter syndrome and wondering, am I good enough? It's brought me to amazing places. And I'm really grateful for it because it's made me do difficult things that have pushed me. My anxiety kind of keeps me on the edge. And what I mean by that is just there's this amazing book. Not amazing, but it's a good book. It's called The Way of the Superior Man, and I know it sounds stupid. I know. I know it sounds really stupid. But please just disregard the cover title, disregard the book cover, and listen. The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. And it's all about like sort of the relationship between men and women, and like sort of the spiritual side of things, not from like an evolutionary perspective, but just from a spiritual side of things, which is very interesting. I recommend you check it out, whether you're a guy or a girl. He has for both sexes. But he says that for a man to truly feel fulfilled, he has to sort of live on his edge, sort of live on that point of uncertainty where he doesn't know if he can complete the next step, if he doesn't know he's worthy of the next thing, but he's pushing himself. And I really resonate with this personally, in the sense of whenever I feel most lively or energized, it's when I'm sort of at the edge of my competence. It's when I'm doing things that are really pushing me and forcing me to grow. And you can see this with the flow state, right? So the thing that gets me there, the thing that gets me to my energized and reaching sort of state is my anxiety. The anxiety that I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know if I'm going to do great things in the future. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I don't know if I'm going to have money. I don't know if I'm going to find someone who loves me. All these sort of anxious questions. And I want to say something. One sec, tea break. That's some ASMR for you guys. That's some ASMR. But I think anxiety is really hardwired into humans. And it makes sense. It's very evolutionarily advantageous. Or I don't even know if that was the right wording. It's advantageous for our evolution, right? Back in the days when humans were hunting dinosaurs and hitting rocks to make fire, the anxious monkeys survived. And I know we weren't hunting dinosaurs and all that stuff, but nonetheless, the anxious humans survived, right? Those who worried about their next meal, or if there was a monster lurking around the corner, or who were anxious, those were the ones who avoided danger because they weren't caught with their pants down. And as a result, we know through natural selection and Darwinian evolution, all that good stuff, evolution basically got hardwired, or evolution basically hardwired anxiety into the human psyche. And I know the mind is incredibly powerful. Trust me, I know that. But good luck trying to beat millions of years of human motherfucking evolution. It's not going to happen. So rather than demonizing your anxiety and trying to uproot it like a weed in a garden, I would, reframe it or look at it in a different perspective. It's a lot easier to look at things in a different perspective than to get rid of them altogether, right? I would say and this is what I've learned, make friends with that anxiety or that fear. Sit it down, give it a blanket, a fresh plate of chocolate chip cookies, and let it rant, let it just speak, right? As I've said, it takes a long time to make friends with your anxiety, and I'm still learning how to do it, and I don't know if that journey never ever ends, but I do think it's possible. And part of that reframing and becoming friends with anxiety is realizing that I wouldn't be who I am without it. It's helped me a lot. And because I worry about my future success and what that future might look like, and I do worry about it, I work harder, right? I'm here recording this podcast because I worry about my future. I make videos and I write blog articles and I push myself past my limits, because if I don't, I'm gonna be a fucking steaming pile of hot garbage that does nothing worthwhile in my measly lifetime. And yes, is my anxiety a little bit overdramatic, kind of like a theater kid souped up on too many Starbucks Frappuccinos? Absolutely. I am being a little overdramatic here. But I think that drama is for a reason. I think it's because that drama, this sort of passion of, maybe passion isn't the right word, but this undercurrent of anxiety and this thought spiraling, it is dramatic and it is a bit over the top, but it made me who I am today. Because if I wasn't anxious, if I never had feelings of doubt or worry or whatever, I would have never started working out. Because the reason I started working out was because, dude, I just wanted girls. I'm gonna be honest, when I was 16 and first hopped into the gym, it's because I wanted girls. Did it get me girls? Maybe. Not that many, but becoming a better person got me laid, but it wasn't necessarily big muscles. But, you learn that over time. But once again, if I wasn't anxious at 16 and thought I was never going to get laid and have sex or all that stuff, I would have never started working out. I'm going to be frank with that. If I wasn't anxious at 18 years old, I would have never discovered Zen Buddhism and meditation and all that stuff. And if I wasn't anxious at 20 years old and I didn't doubt my own capabilities, I would have never have signed up and done a bodybuilding competition. And if I wasn't anxious this morning, I wouldn't be here recording the podcast. It is looking at your anxiety as sort of the thing that pushes you, right? The fear around my future definitely compels me to work harder and smarter and go up into those late nights and get up early in the morning. Because if I didn't fear my future, if I didn't work hard, if I didn't fear that, if I didn't care about that, I don't know who I'd be. In a way, my anxiety is like my best friend. It's sort of the thing that gets me up in the morning and gets me going. It makes me work harder. It makes me work smarter. It makes me me. I also want to take a step back, though, and recognize the fact that this is not to glorify anxiety. I think it's really easy, similar to how you see on the internet, this like complete adoration and clinging to discipline junkiness, right? People like, I'm going to say this, I love David Goggins, I love Jocko, but I think the sort of culture they create on the internet is this like discipline junkie, do hard things for the sake of hard things. And they sort of glorify suffering. And they say, oh, the more you suffer, the better you are. And like, that's a little bit far. And I think it's very easy to interpret what I'm saying about anxiety in the same light, where it's, oh, anxiety's great, it does this, it does that. You should thank your anxiety. Because some people do really have bad anxiety where they get into this like paralysis analysis or analysis paralysis, where they just are frozen from their anxiety like a deer in headlights. And that makes sense. And I empathize with those people. I feel that sometimes. I'm lucky that it hasn't really overtaken my psyche, but I've seen it overtake other people. So that is definitely real. And I want to preface that if you are someone who deals with that really strong anxiety that like refrains you from doing anything, from making any sort of progress, like please seek professional help. And don't listen to some internet weirdo like me, okay? I'm not here to glorify anxiety and put it on a pedestal and make you, I don't know, try to create a shrine to your anxiousness, your anxiety. But this is to say that you don't have to demonize your anxiety. You don't have to demonize the worry and the feeling of, am I going to make it in the future? I really do believe that you can use it to your advantage, right? For me, it started with asking a few questions. One question I asked myself is, okay, Armaan, if you didn't fear a potential shitty future, would you be working as hard as you are right now? The answer is no. I'm going to be honest here. If I had a ton of money and a really happy, loving family, or rather like a really happy, loving partner, and I was 35 years old and I had a kid and we were in $1 million house, not a million, a gazillion-dollar house, and my bank account was so large that it was bigger than the US GDP, I wouldn't be as worrisome or anxious as I am right now. And that's just a simple fact. If I wasn't worried about my bank account, I wouldn't be up until 2 a.m. creating spec ads and reaching out to potential clients. It's true. I wouldn't be learning how to push my video editing skills and doing this. It'd be very different. I think I'd still be working hard. I'd still be doing things I love, like writing or writing comedy jokes and all that stuff. But it wouldn't be the same level as intensity. So I think looking at your anxiety like that and realizing, yes, it can cripple you at times and it could definitely hurt and rattle your mind. But at the same time, it's not a complete awful thing because it makes you work harder. It makes you push yourself. It makes you go past your limits. And I think on a meta level, looking at anxiety almost as like a good sign, like a sign of health almost, in the sense of, you know, you don't worry about things you don't care about. For example, when you see a stranger on the street, you're not worrying about that stranger for the rest of your day. You have no connection to them. And it's not because you're heartless, but you're not that close to them. You worry about your friends and family because you're close to them, because you care for them, and therefore you might have some anxiety or worry about how you feel about them or how they feel about you. So I think anxiety is also almost a sign that you actually care about something. I heard this the other day. The other day from Giles Edwards, who he's a podcaster, has a great podcast called Call to Action, which is like an advertising and marketing podcast. And he said this, that he was talking to a friend, and his friend was like, man, I don't know if I'm being a really good dad or really trying to be good or anything like that. I don't know if I could really, take care of a kid well and all this. And Giles said something to his friend. He said, hey, the fact that you're asking yourself, am I a good dad? Can I really be a good parent? Is a sign that you probably are. Because bad parents don't ask if they could be better parents, right? And I think this ties into anxiety as a whole, right? If you have anxiety about the future you're living, or the future you're going to live, or you have anxiety about if the work that you create is good, I think it's actually a good sign, because it shows you care about it. It shows that you think about it, that it matters to you, that you assign some value to it. So maybe looking at it from that perspective, that anxiety is a sign that you really care about something, that you want to be better at it. And then just taking the steps to sort of become better at it, to do the things that will quell that anxiety. Once again, sorry, I'm sick. Anyways, I want to kind of wrap it up here. You don't have to demonize your fear or worry, but it might help to reframe it and to see how without your anxiety, you wouldn't be who you are today, right? Those who do not have worry do not deeply care. Your sign of anxiety and worry is a sign that you care about your life, and I think that's completely awesome. Well done. So don't try to, manifest your anxiety away by listening to YouTube gurus and, lighting incense and worshiping your amethyst crystals. Stop trying to push your anxiety away by reading horoscopes, okay? Instead, just accept it, love it, embrace it, listen to it, and let it do its thing. It's tough to look at your anxiety as part of the thing which got you to where you are today, but it's true. It's damn true. You wouldn't be who you are without the worry and the fear that you feel. So, before you go on trying to spend money on every single different type of bullshit therapy, and I'm not saying that all therapy is bullshit. Cognitive behavioral therapy is pretty awesome. But before you try spending money on some random, internet loser who's going to tell you that all you have to do is just breathe your anxiety away, it might help to look at it as something that has gotten you very far and gotten you and helped you, but it may not be what you need right now. But it starts with reframing anxiety. It starts with looking at it in a different light. I don't know if I'm ever going to get rid of my fear. I don't know if I'm ever going to get rid of my imposter syndrome. But in the meantime, I could make friends with it. And I don't have to push it down, and I don't have to repress it. So at the end of the day, I think that's what I'm really trying to say. There's no need to repress it. There's no need to push it down. You can love it and take care of it and nurture it. And bit by bit, you'll break through it. Bit by bit. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Send this to a friend or family member if you want to help them figure out life. And stay tuned. Find me on my website below. Subscribe to my newsletter, Philosophy Fountain, where you could figure out a few ways to live a happier and more intentional life. And take care, y'all. I'm going to see you later. Peace.